Yeah, can you still hear my sickness in my voice?
A
Not
little
really.
bit.
Not
really? Okay.
It just sounds more
You're
neat.
slightly froggy.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying to Ethel, I was saying. All right, greetings everybody. I don't know. Shut up.
Sorry, COVID. Sorry.
Yeah,
COVID.
sorry, COVID. Sorry. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another and our last, I guess, supplemental Tempest Talks episodes before season 2 resumes. So we're going to kick out one last supplemental episode before. And Ryan, do you want to make the grand announcement?
Yes, season 2 will resume on September the 7th. So we will be kicking off the end of the back half of season 2, and we should proceed with alacrity henceforth until we wrap up the season.
So all of our droves of new listeners that we will get at Dragon Con will be
so many
perfectly
so
timed.
many new people.
Gonna be fives of them.
So as you heard from last week's release, we are going to be at Dragon Con. We're going to be hosting many panels at Dragon Con, talking about Starship Tempest in a variety of different ways and conversations. It's going to be awesome. If you're going to be there, come check us out. We're going to be in the program.
Yes, please.
All right. And until then, today we figured we might as well actually follow up on what you guys did that I missed out on because I was sick, but follow up sort of on that conversation of underrated films. But today kind of like dig in or dial into underrated Star Trek episodes specifically. So there is the canon of classics, right? Of all of the episodes people talk about all the time, or I'm getting my girlfriend into Star Trek or so and so. What should I show her? That sort of conversation. And so those are always the ones that come up. So we thought we would try to dive into some of the better stuff that doesn't come up in those conversations quite as often. So Ryan, I know you had some strong feelings about one. Do you want to kick us off?
Well, yeah. So one of my all-time favorites is one of those that is cause and effect, but that one is largely accepted as one of the most enjoyable episodes out there. In fact, I saw a recent article about it, so I didn't want to use cause and effect. But for the record, that is my favorite episode of Star Trek, just because I love the hell out of it. The other one that I like, it's funny, Brian, that you said, I want to get my girlfriend into Star Trek. I did introduce Tara to Star Trek The Next Generation through the episode that I'm going to talk about, which is Data's Day.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. No. It's a different data-centric episode. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I did get Tara into Star Trek with Data's Day, but the one I want to talk about is actually Hero Worship. So,
interesting. Okay.
Hero worship. So as a kid, I found Data, and I've talked about this to some extent previously. Data was my favorite character because he was a robot, and he had super strength and super intelligence and super speed. So he was basically a superhero in a Star Trek universe, and so I've always loved Data for that reason. And there are certain episodes that stick out in my mind where he gets to actually show, particularly his super strength. And in Hero Worship, the young boy is caught in the wreck of that derelict vessel. I forget what the name of the ship was, Brian, if you have it.
Vico.
The Pico.
Vico.
Right, the Vico. Yep. And they can't get him out, and so everybody, in order to get him out, they got to move this really heavy pylon, this strut, but they know that as soon as it moves, the whole thing is going to come crashing down. So everybody beams off the ship except for the superhero, except for Data, who's there, and he's reassuring this boy that everything's going to be okay in the most, Data way he can. And the boy asks, "How can you do that?" And I think he says something to the effect of, "I have many times the strength of a human." And then he just lifts it up and then lets it, from the kid scampers out and lets it fall. And I loved that moment. And from that moment on, watching the kid like emulate Data, it was like, that's exactly what I would have done if I was in his shoes. Like I tried to be Data for a week after watching Hero Worship. But it also has one of my all-time.
In his 30s.
It also has one of my.
This was last week.
Yeah.
It also has one of my all-time favorite Star Trek moments, though, that speaks to the trust factor that the crew has with one another. It's the moment in Star Trek when Data basically gives Picard an order. It's right at the end as the magnitude of the waves keep increasing, and and everybody's saying more shields. Data, Geordi, reroute even more power to the shields, and blah blah blah. And then Data, he says, the boy says that to Data. That's what they kept saying: more shields, more shields. And then he leaves his station. He's like, here, come with me. And he goes and he sits down and he starts tapping on the computer. And like right before the last wave comes, Data walks right over and he says, "Captain, drop the shields."
Yeah.
And Riker's like, "Data, that's suicide." And then he looks at Picard again and goes, "Drop the shields." And Picard does. It's like there's a split second hesitation, but it's like one of those moments where you just put all of your faith into your crew that they know what the right situation is, and there was no time for back and forth.
Yeah.
It was like, it's now, you need to do this or we're going to die.
Yeah.
And Picard made the right call and trusted his second officer, and I just love that moment. It's one of those ones that has always stuck with me in my Star Trek fandom. So, because Data's a badass and deserves to be celebrated. So,
what about you, Matt? What's a good?
So I like a lot of the weird episodes. Like I like that weird episode in season 1 or 2 when Geordi turns into that weird hypercolor alien.
oh yeah,
Like the blacklight alien.
yes, I love the blacklight alien.
It's such a weird episode and so bizarre.
Transfigurations.
Transfigurations, yes. When they try to when they have to like piece it together on the holodeck.
Yep. Yes. And
that's a really cool sequence.
It's super
It's not
cool.
season 1 or 2. I want to say it's like season 4.
Is it 4? Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, because I remember when they flash back, you see Geordi in like the season uniform. That's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's one of mine that I always like to watch because it's just so weird.
Oh, season 3.
Season 3?
No, wait,
Okay.
no. So wait, sorry. No, I'm screwing it up.
Come on,
Transfigurations
Brian.
is a different one.
Oh yeah, we got the title wrong. God, we're dumb.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, we got to shut the podcast down now.
All those listeners out there, like, it wasn't Transfigurations.
I guess.
Okay,
Thanks for sticking with us this long. We're out.
All that stuff we said about season 2 continuing, it was bullshit.
Identity Crisis is the Geordi
Yes.
turns into a weird alien one. But yes, the sequence where they're like forensically reconstructing it, and
super
it's
cool.
a super cool sequence, and it's definitely one of those where you're like, why don't they do this more often? Like, this seems like a really useful technique that
Right.
Yeah.
we're just never going to mention again. But yeah,
Yep.
For
on
sure.
its own, it's a very cool sequence.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those, I think, I'm not trying to speak for you, Matt, but that one stuck with me too because of the color. Like, there's vivid.
Are you going to sit there and take that, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
But I mean,
Yeah, well,
season 4 was what, 1991? So I was like 11.
Yeah.
So, I'm not like a little kid or anything, but at the same time, like the visual element of that black light alien or black light creature really stuck with my memory.
Yeah, and they're so creepy, and then they can only get Geordi back at the end. They can't get anyone else.
Right.
All the
Yeah.
people are too far gone. Geordi's just barely there.
weird.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a cool episode. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. Very
Cool.
And I
good.
also like the Riker I did not kill that man episode.
Oh god.
Oh, yeah. Frame
That's
of mind.
I
Frame
didn't
of
get
mind.
that, man.
I didn't kill that man. Oh, God.
That's good. Because it's cool because it's like it's one of those episodes that gets me because we've all been on stage and rehearsed plays and stuff, and that's like half that episode is him rehearsing this play,
Right,
like
right.
losing his mind.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Is like
Yeah.
that one
what
like
part is real and
Yeah.
that one freaked me out a little bit as a kid. Like that one messed with me on some levels as
Yeah.
a kid.
yeah, it's like an X-Files episode of Star Trek. It's great.
Yeah.
I love
Or
that.
like Star Trek guest directed by David Lynch or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tara, what's your goal here?
No.
What's your goal?
I know.
What's
I
your
noticed-
goal with this podcast?
What does it say you do here?
I noticed we're all talking about TNG, and I will say before I mention my my unsung favorite, that in every iteration of Star Trek, I enjoy a holodeck episode where they're not wearing the clothes that they normally wear. I am that person. They're made for me. I love them very much.
I am not a merry man.
Every one of those episodes is my favorite.
Oh, then
DS9.
you must love Voyager then.
I have only seen a handful of Voyager episodes. That is a show that I have to
You'll love
actually sit down and watch. But like the DS9 episodes with holodeck scenes or time travel, or when they whatever. Anyway, all of the shows doing all of the things they don't normally do, sign me up. But my favorite episodes I wanted to talk about, one is probably not an unsung favorite. It's probably beloved by many people, but it's the one that I will always watch if it is on start to finish, and that is Family from TNG.
Family, yeah.
Oh, Family's great.
I do feel like Family is like, it's not an underrated one in the maybe in the
Yeah.
sense that we're originally talking about, but like does not get mentioned as often
Yeah,
as
it's
say
not
like
it's not
Cause
like
and Effect.
or Inner Light.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
It's so good, and like it delves into like not just Picard's storyline, which is my favorite part, obviously, like his storyline is awesome, but the part about Worf and his adoptive
And the
parents.
Rishenkos, yeah.
Yeah, the Rishenkos, like that part, it was important for some kids to watch, of like an adopted family and feeling like you don't fit in with your own family, but they've raised you and they know you. And like, I don't know. I just always thought like, oh, this is a really cool episode.
That's a really profound point. Yeah.
Thanks.
Like I didn't think of it in terms of an orphan being cared for. I should have, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mhm.
She's like, I learned to make raw egg blood pie, like I did all the things that I needed to do. I'm your mother.
But we never quite learned how to eat it.
Exactly.
It was so good, yeah.
And my other one is it has been on the brain a lot lately because for DragonCon I have made not one but two Luoxana Troy costumes, and the episode Menage a Troy has my favorite scene maybe in all of Star Trek, when Picard is trying to like be jealous and say, oh my god, and he starts quoting the sonnet at her and stuff.
I love.
He just says this like he does this like medley of Shakespeare, like it's nothing.
Yes!
It's not one particular Shakespearean
just
thing. It's just a
sonnet.
blah.
Well,
And
they
she's
can only
like-
do small, short snippets of Shakespeare. So they didn't want to pay his
Yeah.
agent.
Right,
His
yes,
estate.
Right.
The rights for Shakespeare are just it's like the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
And I told Ryan, I was like, at first I wasn't exactly sure why I wanted to cosplay as Luoxana Troy so badly this year, but I realized that she is a passionate, eccentric mother, and I am too. And so like we connect on a lot of levels. And so like watching her in that episode send Riker and Deanna back to the ship and was like, you got to trust me, I'm going to take care of you and me and this, like just trust me and go, was like, yeah, mama, like do the thing. And yeah, and then her whole plot of like, I'm sorry, I'm with him now, you have to stop killing all of my lovers. And he's like, hey, what?
The only way you'll get me back is through his dead body.
So good. Majel Barrett Roddenberry, may you rest in peace, you wonderful human being.
Yeah, that was great. And wasn't that also the episode with the like that where Wesley figures out the hidden message in the static?
Oh, there is a Wesley thing.
I don't
Yeah,
I
Wesley's
don't know what you're talking about.
Wesley's
Oh
gonna-
yeah, doesn't like Riker like could jigger something on the
Yeah.
Ferengi ship and
Yeah.
and
puts out,
so
like on a subspace carrier-away.
Yeah,
The
and
op-
sent the message.
the
Yeah,
opening
yeah,
the
yeah.
opening scene is in 10 forward, and like some guy is playing some alien instrument.
Oh, and it's got like the alien makeup is like this really big head
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah.
And Wesley was like, something was weird about that message. I couldn't understand. He was about ready to get transferred off the Enterprise, and this was like the last moment where he could, like, they have to go now, or then we're gonna leave without you. And he runs off the transporter pad saying, "It's the static," and then
It's
he
the-
goes and,
oh.
and finds it.
Yeah.
That is a
So
good episode.
it's a good episode, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, I just my favorite moment in all of Star Trek is when he turns from her on the view screen and says with this tiny little smirk, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all." 9, 8. It's just the little smirk on his face. It's just delicious. It's delicious.
And then and then at the end when he walks over to the helm, he's like, "All right, set course for Beta Z." Warp 9.
Warp 9.
Yeah, that's a good.
I- I like episodes like that because they take a character that kind of started as kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like Loxana Troy is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they give her some good like meaty stuff to do, like in
Yeah.
the DS9 episode where her and Odo are like stuck on the turbo.
Oh
lift.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the sweetest person on Earth or
Right.
on Deep Space
Where-
Nine.
That's
and
Where
awesome.
she
Yeah.
is, yeah, she the
yeah.
moment, the moment you're talking about, I think is really like sweet and touching, kind of out of nowhere moment where she like basically Odo is opening up about his own insecurities for the first time to anybody.
Mhm.
And she's been kind of like her typically, bombastic, over the top personality up to that point. And it's only then where she like takes her wig off, which you don't realize it's a wig until that moment, but she, kind of takes off the Loxana persona at that moment, and it just kind of comes and it becomes a very quiet moment.
Yeah, it's profound for Odo too, because it's the first time that he's ever turned to a liquid in front of a solid before.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he has that vulnerable
Oh.
moment because he can't maintain his shape any longer, and she's
Oh.
basically like, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, let me take care of you for
Yeah, and
a second.
he like gooifies in her dress.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, like she like holds her
she's
dress
a
up.
mama bear, and that's what we do. Like, listen, honey, if you need to go to goo, here's my purse. Like, it's fine.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Loxana is truly an unsung hero in Star Trek.
I agree.
Mm. Yeah,
Did
that's why
you
I'm like-
know that Loxana is the voice of the computer?
What?
No.
Get out of here, Brian. No,
No.
that's
Did
you're,
you-
you're lying.
Did you guys know that she was also Nurse Chapel in the
all right.
Did you know that she also played Nog in DS9?
That's incredible.
She's a brilliant actor.
Her range is
Truly.
amazing.
Truly transformative.
That's fantastic. Brian?
Yeah. Are you guys ready finally?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess we'll get
What
to
is
yours.
Brian's favorite?
Well, so no, since it's kind of ended up on TNG, there's one in particular, and it actually kind of segues off of Ryan, your favorite in Cause and Effect, because it's another great example of the same kind of idea, which I remember reading it somewhere at some point and going, holy shit, like, wow, that's right. It is what they do. But it's basically there's this trope in TV shows in general where it's like if one of the main characters starts having whatever weirdness, and especially in like a genre or sci-fi show, like they're hearing voices or they're seeing something or whatever, blah blah blah, and it's like the default trope is for the rest of the characters to go, you're going crazy, good friends, and
Right.
you're not really seeing whatever you're really seeing.
Right.
And something that Star Trek in general and TNG in particular, I think, is really good at doing, which I didn't notice until I saw, somebody pointed it out to me, is it doesn't do that ever.
That's cool.
It's like so in Cause and Effects, basically everything kicks off with Beverly thinks she's hearing voices, and
Mhm.
it's like a straight up like I'm hearing voices, and there's no moment at all of like, okay, well, you're the doctor, just prescribe yourself a sleeping pill, I guess. Maybe
Right.
prescribe your
The first question was productive. It was, what was the voices saying? Like,
it was immediately like, okay, well, we're on a starship that experiences weird shit every week, so let's look into the weird shit.
Yeah.
specifically at least once a week.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what's an even better, and what I think is like the gold standard of that trope that I love, and I think this is why I'm talking about this episode in particular, is the episode Realm of Fear, where Barclay, who has already been established as this neurotic guy who struggles with like what we would say anxiety and probably something on the autism spectrum, blah blah, although of course it's not verbalized that way at the time, but anyway, what is so great about that episode in particular is that Barclay starts to think he's seeing something inside the transporter beam. As he's being transported, he thinks he's seeing monsters or something.
Yeah.
And what's great about this trope in that episode in particular is that Barclay actually makes that assumption about himself first.
Right. Yeah.
Like he thinks, I'm Barclay, I'm this crazy, high-strung guy. I must be imagining this thing because I have a transporter phobia and I'm crazy and blah 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 blah. Like, and
Yeah.
so the first like good chunk of the episode is he doesn't actually bring it up to anybody because he has assumed it's part of its own phobia.
Doesn't ask for help or anything.
Doesn't ask for help, doesn't bring it up to anybody, to Geordi, who is both his friend and his boss, right? Or
Yeah.
tries to deal with it on his own, or tries to kind of not repress it, but like tries to not deal with it, right? Just to like strong arm, like, nope, not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
And tries to get by that way, and which of course
go away.
yeah, which of course does not work.
Right.
And so when the episode finally gets to the point where he really can't do that anymore, and he does finally bring it up to Geordi, both his friend and his boss, the first thing that Geordi says is like, dude, why didn't you say something sooner? Let's go figure this out. Like,
Yeah.
we'll look at, like, all right, let's get to the bottom of whatever this weird shit is. And of course, it's the weird shit thing is actually the key to the mystery of saving the people on the ship that they're trying, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
Like, but like the whole like expression of that trope of a main recurring character having this weird stuff, not only not being dismissed by the other main characters, but be like forcefully not being being dismissed,
Right.
almost in
Yeah.
a way, like dismissing himself, but then his friends not letting him get away with doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and showing that like if you reach out for help, like it showed people that if you reach out for help, people aren't going to smack your hand away. You can find support and understanding in something as simple as saying, "Hey, this is going on with me."
Yeah. And like, I'm not the greatest person at asking for help sometimes when I need it. So, maybe that's good for me
Yeah.
to remember. But don't tell my friends I said that.
You are your friends.
Right, but you say that, but you also have gotten help.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's what I'm saying, in the sense that like it's good specifically and especially for me, in that sense of like, at least in some ways, naturally I am like Barkley in that regard of like, I'm just gonna seize down and deal with it, which is stupid.
It's problematic.
Yeah, we shouldn't do that. And it's not stupid because it is stupid in the sense that we're humans and we're all stupid, and like our brains are just big piles of stupid, that like evolution is like, this is good enough for them to fuck before they die, so that's fine. like that's what
Wow.
that's really what our brains are. It's like, this is just good enough, and in my case at least, it's not even that good. So anyway,
but it's full of Star Trek.
But it's full of Star Trek knowledge. Yeah.
Right. So in a society where only like just now is the stigma of mental health sort of becoming less and less of a thing. Like back in the 90s, it certainly still absolutely was a thing. But that is some great social commentary on that topic.
A lot of people complain about different things with Discovery, but I'll be damned if they're not handling mental health, the like what goes on in the queer community, things like that, like those kinds of hardships that people face every single day. Those are not hush hush at all in Discovery. Like those are things that are right out on the table that people deal with every day, that is not necessarily spoon-fed every episode. Like sometimes it's a little like, okay, we get it. But
did you though? Did you get it?
Did you get it though? Did you see what we did? But for the most part, it was like unafraid to handle mental illness and asking for help and support, and taking medications, and keeping on top of your own demons in order to do your job and to be successful and to thrive.
Yeah, no, there's I'll say there are issues with Discovery's writings that I definitely have, but that is absolutely not one of them, in the sense that it is exactly as you're saying. It takes that basically everything I was talking about, Realm of Fear, and just keeps pulling on it so well and so strongly.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, I think it's Anthony Rapp's character in general that's kind of like has that same like, I'm just gonna like force my way through this, whatever it is, without really dealing with it.
Right.
And it's his boyfriend / the doctor / the counselor who's like, no, you have to actually deal with this in a way that is actually dealing with it.
Totally.
And which is a great, like, it's a great dynamic that Star Trek is doing that, and it's also a great dynamic that it's the doctor is also that other character's intimate partner, so there's like that kind of shade to the relationship,
Right. Yeah.
again, or in that expression of it. So
It's also
yeah,
Discovery also does a good job of showing that, like, the doctor is also suffering from mental illness and needs help.
yeah,
Like, and like that just goes to show that everybody is dealing with this. Like, everybody deals with stuff. Everybody has their issues. And yeah, I hadn't even really considered that until you guys brought it up. But yeah, the doctor himself, excuse me, needs attention, needs help, needs to nurse his own mental
and
health.
what's great about that is that it's like the stigma behind like mental illness and whatever mental issues person has. Like I struggle with ADHD, and we all have our various things. But like, I think there's still kind of this residue of the sense of like, once you realize whatever your issue is, then the issue kind of magically solves itself, right? Like once, I have whatever, like,
I have a diagnosis.
yeah, once I have a diagnosis, or once you even get past the like denial, or that like I'm just gonna buckle down and pretend it doesn't exist. Like once you even get past that, I feel like sometimes there's this assumption on our parts of like, well, if you can just do that, then everything is easy after that.
Right.
And that is not at all the way it works, right? And I think that does come from kind of a storytelling, or a television storytelling, thing, where you got 45 minutes to tell a story, and the character needs to have some kind of realization about themselves by the end of that 42 minutes. And so, okay, things have to be, you have to have kind of a happy ending, right? But in real life, it doesn't really work that way. And I think what's great specifically about the doctor in Discovery is like, yes, he's the doctor, so he knows all of this stuff, and he can communicate and help other people work through it, but he still struggles with whatever he's struggling with himself, right? Just because he's the doctor,
right,
and he has training in PTSD counseling, doesn't make his PTSD go away automatically just because, right? And it's the same thing. I mean, I know it's the same thing with my ADHD, in the sense that I can take my medication, and my medication helps a lot.
Yeah.
But the medication is not it's not a magic pill by itself.
Right. To actually just jump onto what you were saying, like the doctor in Discovery, I went through PTSD, recovery and stuff like that, and I have general anxiety disorder. I had postpartum anxiety. I be like anxiety out the wazoo. I have a daily SSRI that I take, every single day, and then I also have a backup parachute medication that for days where I'm gonna spiral. So days like on a daily, I'm taking my medicine that I was prescribed to keep me level and functional, and occasionally I still need a parachute. And after I had therapy for PTSD, it doesn't go away immediately. So it becomes like I need to do this work. And so the more I take the reins, the better I am, the better I feel, the better each day is. And so I think Star Trek does an awesome job in showing that like these professionals out in space are dealing with their mental illness stuff, and the people around them are offering support. They're offering, like, what do you need in order to care for yourself, in the same way of just like, hey, do you need time on a holodeck so that you're not doing this right now? Like, do you need escapism? Do you need, and it's, oh, Logan is having a very hard day. It's hard being 3. But yeah, it's I think it boils down to, taking care of ourselves in the best ways that we can, and looking for support, and taking our mental health seriously.
Yeah, there's go ahead, Matt.
I was the way I always imagined it is that if you look at it like like everything you get is tools in a toolbox.
Mhm.
So if you know, oh, I have anxiety disorder. Okay, so how do I fix that? It's the same way, or how do I address that? So it's the same way as I want to build a birdhouse. What do I need? I need a
Yeah.
hammer. I need drill. I need a drill. I need nails. I need wood. So your medication might be that. That's one tool. Your therapy is another tool. That
Yeah.
your parachute medication, that's another tool. And just all these things are tools you need to
Yeah.
to build on and work on your project, which is you.
Absolutely.
Your project is you. That's good, Matt.
Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty smart a lot.
Super smart. What I got out of that is that I'm a fabulous birdhouse.
There you go. And Ryan's that ramshackle one that like
I am the world's ugliest, most crappily put together birdhouse.
Yeah.
The one that
Uh,
go to.
yeah,
Uh,
your
what song
birdhouse
am-
got an F.
What song am I thinking of? Put that
Love it.
birdhouse in your pocket.
I don't know,
A
Brian.
birdhouse in your pocket?
I don't think
That
that's a
won't fit
song,
in
Brian.
there.
Pocket.
No, but we're not here to judge.
Eh.
Brian, tell us about the birdhouse song.
Brian, where's the birdhouse now?
do you
is the
see the birdhouse?
What is the birdhouse saying?
It's
Wow.
no. Yeah. So this is something I'm just kind of thinking about now as we're talking about it. But like, again, just how crazy good Star Trek is without even kind of realizing it, right? Because
Yeah.
so I was in ROTC, as you guys remember, in college, and the U.S. military very much has a like walk it off philosophy towards things, and it's getting better. Obviously, it's 15 years, 20 years since I've been in it, but you know, it, like everything else, it's getting better in regards to attitudes towards mental health. But and again, this is something I'm just kind of putting together now, but I wanted to join the U.S. military because it was the closest thing I could get to Starfleet, right? Like that's,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
of course.
Of
But
course,
That's how you
logical.
operate.
Yeah.
yeah, but the idea of Starfleet as this group of people who are these incredibly high performers, who are the best at what they do, that are, you know, out there, the cutting edge of their professions and their fields of expertise, et cetera, like there's the very best of the best of the best with honors, sir. Right?
Sure.
But they are that without kind of that, you know, walk it off toxic masculinity, pretend it's not happening, kind of you know, unhelpful mindsets about those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Is also like, it's crazy that was on network television in the 90s, and
Right. Yeah.
Like-
it was so far ahead of its time. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
It was like
in the 1900s.
in my line of work, I have a what would be regarded as a very stressful job, and they are still only just now, they meaning my employers, are getting to the point where recognizing that mental health is as important as physical health, because it used to be that if you said you had gone to a counselor, you could lose your job for, like, you could be decertified for a certain period of time, which is completely backwards.
Crazy.
And honestly,
Yeah.
it is like that worry has prevented me from seeking advice and help when I certainly could have used it. And it's challenging. It's hard to cross that bridge for the very first time if you haven't done it, which I have yet to actually talk to a therapist, but it is something that Tara and I have discussed for various reasons, that, you know, it should be as casual as going to get a physical checkup from your doctor, you know, a wellness visit from your doctor.
I used to describe going to my therapist at first as there's something inside me that's like a Horcrux, you know, and the sword of Gryffindor is too close to me, so the Horcrux just wants to get out of there and it's getting real squirmy. And then it became more of a like, well, I'm gonna go to therapy and talk about some stuff and bye. And it got better. It took time, but it got better, and so did I.
Can you imagine how different this world would be if everyone just went even once a year?
Yeah.
Go to just like you go to your doctor for a checkup.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
No
Go to a
kidding.
psychiatrist or a psychologist, whichever one you want. I don't know.
You know what?
I know one can give you medication.
Yeah,
Other than that, I'm not 100%.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, definitely go to the one that can give you drugs.
Yeah.
You want all the drugs you can get.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm changing my answer to Realm of Fear. That has sparked a hell of a good conversation.
Yeah, really.
You're right. That's a good one.
Good episode.
Really good one.
All right. Well, did anybody? What are we at anyway at this point? Because we talked. We all did one episode, and we're like at what, an hour or something.
Yeah,
already.
it's probably it's probably about wrap up time. But I also just wanted to say regarding One with Fear, Brian, that I think it's pronounced broccoli.
Lieutenant Broccoli.
Yeah.
Lieutenant
This is a podcast, so I can't do
Oh, you
Patrick
can't-
Stewart's
you
like.
can't do that. Yeah, he did his best Patrick Stewart surprise face for all of you who can't see
Yeah.
him, which is
Yeah.
everybody but us.
All right. Well, no, seriously, are we at time?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't
All
start the timer.
Do we want to talk about one more episode that not a lot of people know about?
Yeah.
It's called All Good Things.
Oh.
Nobody knows that one.
Oh, is that the one with the Klingons and the Ferengi and the hula dance?
Yes,
The hula dance.
Right.
that's the one. It's really
Actually, I
weird.
mean, if you guys have some time, I could start talking about my theories about how the Ferengi economy works in like a post. How it's sort of like is gold press platinum standard, but then it's also a
We'll
hybrid.
see you
with
out
it.
there, everybody.
I'm sure
All right.
there's a market out there somewhere for someone to want to hear you talk about that for an hour.
And I'm gonna find them.
You should record your own episode that's just an optional
Brian,
adventure.
Yes.
next-
A non-mandatory edition.
Yeah.
No,
next
it'll be
DragonCon,
mandatory.
See if you can do a panel on just that.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna. Oh yeah.
the economies of the Ferengi, of the Ferengi trade empire.
Next DragonCon, I will pitch a like how the Federation economy works
Oh my God.
panel.
Do it. They'll do it. Oh,
It'll be attended by ones of people.
are we done?
No, I don't. I mean,
Oh, I
if you
thought
have another thought.
No, it's a separate thought, and I thought you said we'll see you out there. And
Well, that was to cut off
it.
Brian from his.
Oh,
Yeah.
I too have other thoughts, but not that should be recorded.
Okay. Yeah, we can end it there.
I have impure thoughts about Brian.
Ah!
Okay, I think this has gone off the
Oh.
rails now. We
Yeah.
should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Brian?
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, on the last Tempest Talk supplemental episode of the mid-season 2 break. Join us. What you said a day, Ryan? What day did you say? The
September
7th?
September
September
7th.
7th.
Mhm.
So join us September 7th for the beginning of the back half of season 2, which will start off with a very cool guest star NPC character. And it'll be a fun
There's
little
no cool guest star. It's just
Yeah.
guest NPC.
guest NPC. It's still me doing the voice, so don't get too excited.
It is a cool thing, though.
And a cool like murder mystery that I think we're kind of like finishing up the editing of it right now, and I think it's super fun. So so be sure to tune in, everybody, on September 7th, and until next time, until then, we'll see you out there.
See you out there.
Keep watching this.
The skis.